What up? It's your boy Wall Street, and I'm back. And I wanted to make this video as a follow-up to my previous video about your 20s and why it's such a weird and confusing time in most people's lives. Because I want to make sure everyone understands that my stance on your 20s is not that they're inherently bad, right? I do believe that most people struggle, both, with work, their personal lives, who they are, like just, figuring out how to navigate the world, both as an individual and, just in the grand scheme of things. But the thing I want to highlight is that even though there might be a struggle, even though it might be a trying time in your life, a time where you feel like you're not doing enough because you have other people that you grew up with or around you that are at way different stages in life, and it might feel like they're more ahead of you. I mentioned people having kids and getting married and having really, high-paying jobs or being really successful, and, you're not at that point yet. Everyone moves at their own pace, right? But the thing to remember is that while you're moving at your own pace, you're going through your own journey. Like I don't know if I've said on this channel, but I say it frequently, to my friends and stuff, where the destination won't feel good if you don't really embrace the journey that it takes you to get there, right? So the journey most of the time is way more important than the actual destination itself, because you're not going to appreciate the destination, as in your goal and what you want to achieve, if you don't truly embrace that journey, right? Because you have to kind of go through things and struggle and feel like, it took hard work, it took perseverance, it took strength to get to where you want to be. Because if it just is, super easy, you're not going to really appreciate that destination. So that all goes to say that your 20s are very important. And you shouldn't just think of it as like, this is going to be a horrible time in your life, right? It's because while you might struggle, like I said, it's probably a time that you're going to look back on with a lot of nostalgia and euphoria and kind of be like, oh, wow, like I miss those times, right? Because it's a lot easier to look back on a time where you struggle when you're older and you don't have to worry about the same things that you were struggling with, during that time. It's easier to reminisce on the, the positive things. And a lot of times, people bond through hardship, right? So if you have a really tough job and you have a coworker that is going through the same thing with you, like you guys are probably going to turn out to be pretty good friends, right? Like it's just things like that, right? Or if you're struggling, with one of your parents and you have a sibling, you guys are going to go through that together, right? It's like, it's just, those are things that you'll look back on 10, 15, 20 years later and be like, wow, I'm glad that happened because it made me a better person, right? It made me stronger. It made me happier in the long run. It made me appreciate things a lot more. So while I do believe that, your 20s are a tough time for most people, and it's a time where you learn the most, it's a time where you really go through a lot. It is a very necessary thing, and I think it makes for the greater good for most people. So I just want everyone to understand that, is that I didn't want the last video to be like, oh, okay, like, your 20s suck and I just have to get through it and this and that. Like, in some regard, sure, maybe, but it's not something where you should just, you should try and like sleep through your 20s or something crazy like that. Like, don't do that. You can't hibernate. You have to face it. You have to go through it, right? And that's just what it is, man. That's life. That's how it goes. But if you, stick to it and do what you gotta do, throughout your 20s, I'm sure your life is going to turn out amazing. I'm positive it will, because you just have to grind it out. You have to do what you gotta do. You have to stay strong. You have to persevere, and you have to, make it over the finish line and achieve your goals. And as long as you keep your head down and stay focused and, keep pushing towards your goals, everything's going to work out. Everything's going to work out. But that doesn't mean that there's not going to be any sort of uphill battle. You might have to fight. You might have to go through it. You just got to stay strong. So do what you got to do, man. Your 20s, it's brutal, but it's It's weird. It's confusing. It's a beautiful time. That's all I gotta say, man. Leave some comments down below. Let me know your thoughts, and I'm gonna check you later. Peace out.